I'm smiling because this is a lot of tech in one big orange box. I love the aesthetic, but let's do the unboxing and I'll tell you why I'm smiling. That's because back in the day when I was in school, I enjoyed doing hardware practicals. What was that? We used to solder ICs, fix all sorts of things, break them, fix them again, and then you knew how that technology really worked. Always wanted to be an engineer, and CMF, this sub-brand by Nothing, is making my dreams come true with this new ecosystem. I'm going to unbox it and tell you a little bit more about a very impressive ecosystem. Okay, now that we've unboxed it, I'm going to put this on the side. I love that the aesthetic is consistent with the box as well. So let's just break it down, because if we want to understand what this really looks like, then we need to open it all up. Am I missing something? No, I'm not. So I'm going to unbox it. All of this on the table right now. All right, forgive me for this being a sloppy unboxing, but there's so much to do. And honestly, this gets you back into geek mode. Everything about this phone is modular. And I'm going to tell you the price right up. It's 15,999 rupees for this device. Now, if you're going to try to unscrew it this way, well, that's one thing you can do. But then there's screws on either end as well. So if you want to perhaps put this case over here, this is also a possibility. You can mix and match the colors. And look, you can do this with third-party cases as well. But yeah, I can make a reel perhaps that way. Maybe I can. But the cool part about this is that they're trying to make tech fun again. I remember speaking to Kalpe a few months ago, and we spoke exactly about what this brand aims to do. The parent brand, Nothing. And then there was the CMF launch. And we were all very confused about CMF. But now that it's taking its own shape, I have a few questions. Some of them have been answered. But honestly, this looks, especially with the US, so much like a Nothing phone, which is a more premium offering within their brand. The same OS running on the device, which we are a huge fan of, very minimalistic, just this lovely skin of black and white. It feels like how stock Android should be reimagined, but there's more, right? If you want to attach the lanyard, there's a case right here. If you want to put this card case at the back, well, this can be done as well. All I have to do is place this in over here, and then there's no MagSafe, but it will stick to this magnetic piece. And this is the attention to detail, and this is something that Nothing does well. This is a SIM ejection tool, but it's also a screwdriver. And this is why I told you that you're back to school, back to college, stuff we did back in the day. You can put this right over here and start unscrewing this. And then this can be exposed if you wanted to, or you can just change the cover. If you want to switch to orange, orange is the new black like they say, you can change things around. So essentially there are these 4 screws and the SIM card tray, and if you rotate the dial and pull the back cover out, you can replace it with any of the options that I showed you. Each case comes with color coordinated screws, a rotatable dial, and SIM tray in the box. But you can mix and match, of course, orange, black, they all look really good. The one thing you need to be careful of with this is, one, do not hand this to any of the kids at home, and you also need to be sure that you don't damage your fingernails or even your fingers with this particular device. But honestly, when I saw this and I opened this box, the first thought that came to my mind was back to school, back to college. But then also, I remember even in the lockdown, we were doing all sorts of fun things. This would have genuinely kept me occupied. If you're into Lego, this also looks really cool. Now, one question that might come up is, what does this mean for water and dust resistance? The phone comes with IPX2. That means it's not the best level of rating, but if you're going for something modular, then you got to really compromise on that piece. They've still given you that, and they've given you a lot of other things as well. The display is fantastic. It is quite smooth to use with the refresh rate, because this is a 6.7-inch AMOLED display with 120 Hz of refresh rate. For a phone that costs under 20,000 rupees, in fact 16,000 rupees, they've managed to pack it with a lot of features. Now the phone comes with 2000 nits of peak brightness, honestly, even with the studio lighting, if I increase the brightness to full, it looks exactly like a Nothing Phone 2 to me. So I think they've done a great job with the display. And it's strange that while I'm telling you all of this, I am comparing it to much more premium flagship-like devices in my head. But I need to remember the price at which this comes. And again, finish-wise, it seems pretty cool. Material-wise, at this price point, they've given you fairly decent stuff. Now, it's a little plasticky in some of these places, but again, you got to remember the price point. And colors-wise, well, this is perhaps one of the best designed pieces of tech that I have seen in a long time. I know those AI assistants, Rabbit and the other ones, are also trying to play around with similar colors, but this is a brand, I don't know purely on tech, we'll have to review it further, but in terms of design, this brand just gets it. Another thing that's not very common at this price point is Corning Gorilla Glass 5 protection in their first ever phone. Now that's no mean feat with this CMF device. It also has a 50 megapixel main camera, then there's a 2 megapixel depth sensor which would help with portrait shots. They've not given you an ultra wide camera, which I'd imagine is something deliberately done, because at this price point maybe they'd have to give you not the best ultra wide camera. Well, they've given you these two, and in terms of well lit scenarios, the camera and the video is fairly decent. Now in terms of battery, it comes with a 5000 mAh battery with a 33 watt charging support. No charger in the box, but at this price point, if you want to buy a fast charger, I don't even think a 33 watt is that fast. We should, well, maybe after extensive testing, tell you how the battery drains. It's a fairly decent battery, like I said, 5000 mAh, but this doesn't come in the box, and I'm guessing this costs nearly 1500 rupees. So a little Apple-esque over there, in the way that you don't want to be like Apple, give a charger in the box. But at this particular price point, I'm going to say it again, I can understand why you wouldn't have included one. Also, if you don't use their proprietary charging, I'm guessing you won't even get that 33 watt fast charging capability, and that might be a little bit of a miss because the others in this lineup are giving you some options. Since we're speaking of ecosystems, and an inexpensive one at that as well, this is the Watch Pro 2, which feels fairly premium, under 6K, and you're getting a watch like this, which is stylish and goes with the aesthetic. You have all those cool watch bands as well, and then you have these buds, which have this really cool dial over here, which just really makes a lot of sense, but no sense at all as well. And you have these buds which look like normal buds, but the cool thing is that they really work with this design aesthetic. Now, in terms of operating system, it's running on Nothing OS, just like the other Nothing devices, which we told you is a fantastic OS. It's obviously based on Android 14. It's giving you 2 years of Android updates and 3 years of security updates. Now let's give you a final verdict. It's not just the phone, it's not just the watch, and not even these buds. It's all of this put together with the design that they are striving for. In a world which has become humdrum and incredibly boring, where you'll see the rest of the segments on the show, innovation has become iterative or incremental. To see something like this is truly iconoclastic or disruptive. The fact that for all of us tech geeks, which is a niche in the larger scheme of things, that you can play around, open things up. I know it's modular, some will call it a gimmick or a party trick, but to give that sort of functionality. Also, when you're talking about the right to repair in so many markets, the fact that everything can be opened up on your own, most of it, and basic things can be switched around, I think that is a step in the right direction. Maybe that's the way forward when we talk about technology and empowering us to DIY, do it yourself. I think this is a classic Nothing Carl Pei-esque step in the right direction. An inexpensive ecosystem. We talk about an Apple ecosystem and Samsung building on an ecosystem, but here in India, we're also looking for something more affordable. Also, this phone, we've just found out, is going to be made in India. All I can say is that this ecosystem is not only made in India, I think it's made for India. CMF by Nothing. Interesting.